Now bar chords, love them or hate them, you're going to need to use them at some point. But there's so many different positions on the guitar and sharps and flats and all of that. How's this all going to work and how do you start to learn your bar chords? Let's have a look. Any guitarist who's played for even a few weeks will start to know a few open chords. G, C, A and D, for example, with an E as well, and some minors. So you just gradually piece together things at this end of the neck. However, bar chords, you've got all of these different positions. What you can do is you can use your open shapes and your ears. It's good ear training and a good way of memorizing just a few of your bar chords, because when you know some of them, as I said before, with the jigsaw doing your edge pieces, if you know some of them, you can piece other things in around that. So if we take A and D and play them as bar chords at 5th fret, you get the same chords. So instead of A being an A shape, we use an E shape with a bar at 5th to get an A. They're exactly the same notes. The 5 strings here, so 5th string all the way to 1st. If we go 6th string to 2nd string, you get exactly the same notes, but you also get a note at the top. So it's a little bit more jangly, that one. But essentially it's still an A chord. There are only 3 different notes in these chords, in any major or minor chord. So we've got an A, and there's another A there. There's an E, and another E, and then a C sharp, which gives you your A chord. Now D goes with this because it's also a bar chord at 5th fret, but we're using an A shape. So the 4 strings here, 4th string to 1st string, represent 5th string to 2nd string with that shape there. Now, the same thing can be done with a G shape and a C shape. A G shape at 3rd fret with an E shape, you get that G chord again. So G, G. The same thing happens with C. Now, I had an E chord here just now, so you could do this in one of 2 ways. You could learn that this at 7th fret gives you an E, but it's quite a lot higher as an E, as a chord. They sound a little bit different, even though they're still an E chord, it's quite a lot higher. Now that was one way. The second way is to learn that if you've got D here, on a piano, at the top of the screen you'll see a piano keyboard to illustrate how this works, because this and the piano are basically the same sort of system. If I know that I've got a D chord here, if we go up 2 half steps, so there's a black note in between D and E, that means you've got your E there. In between we have D sharp or E flat. That's on the piano. You can see that black note, there's a black note that separates the D and the E. So you could learn either E and E like that, or start to work with the fact that you can move steps and half steps to get other bar chords. D and C are separated by 4th fret, which is a C sharp or a D flat. Don't worry too much about the fact that the black notes have 2 different names. There are reasons for this, theoretical reasons. You get used to that as you work with these bar chords. The best thing to do with music theory is to actually start playing first, and then the answers start revealing themselves. Music theory answers, which is that's the fun of learning about music theory, is that it actually makes sense because you're already doing it. So, 2 groups then. We've got A and D. So there's one group, and then G and C. So this, at the moment, we've dealt with 5 of the 7 natural notes. We've done A, C, D, E and G. You think, well, where's B then and F? Well, on the piano, if we got C here, which was your bar chord version of C, if we go 1 fret down, we get B, because on the piano, C and B don't have a black note between them, so that means that they're going to be next to each other. The same is true of E and F. We have an E shape here, your open E chord. If we go to 1st fret as an E shape, you get an F. The same thing would happen here if you have an E chord at 7th fret using an A shape. Then you can go from E to F that way. All the other chords have got sharps and flats, so if we've got G, that's G sharp, or G flat. So for every natural note, there's going to be a sharp this way or a flat this way. What about things like C flat? You can technically have those. C and B are next to each other, but that is also C flat. And you will see that from time to time, depending on the key of the tune that you're looking at. So actually, any of these natural notes can have a flat or a sharp. And it's always the same rule. Flat is 1 fret that way, sharp is 1 fret this way. So after a while, you can start to piece together your bar chords. If you just know some of them, it means that you can find new ones from the ones that you know, and then gradually you'll know where they all are.